Gasper, and today I'm here to tell you about why the United States should focus on reducing spending. Alright, so my thesis, my intention is to persuade the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, that the United States should focus on reducing spending. I will discuss why high spending is a problem, the solution to reduce spending, and the benefits you will gain from reducing spending. Here are two little cool pictures of Mike Johnson. This one's like a cartoon, little cartoon one. All right, so the problem. Right now, the problem is that the government is spending too much money, like way too much. According to Miss Gould from Ann Arbor in 2024, large-scale spending measures make up many of Congress's most important recent contributions to national policy making. And you may be thinking, well, yeah, obviously they're going to spend a lot to the government. Why is this bad? It's greatly increased the public tax burden. So Selikay from the Journal of Economics in 2020 defined tax burden as, in general, it can be defined as the ratio of the collected taxes in a particular period against the total product. What it essentially means to us is, how much of the taxes do we have to pay? The higher the taxes we pay, the more the tax burden on people. So we will end up suffering and having to pay even more if the government decides they want us to, which is bad. See, this is a government, this is a tax burden. As you can see, California is real high. The darker the color, like the more you pay. This is us right there, just trying to make a living. This is the government's doing all our taxes. That's how we feel. All right, next, I will discuss the solution to tax cuts, okay? So, oh yeah, the solution is tax cuts, my bad. So what are tax cuts? Tax cuts, if you want, they refer to a decrease in the tax rates or an increase in tax deductions and exemptions for individuals and businesses. So pretty much lower our taxes. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that's good for us. More money in pocket, more happy. The easiest fix. So taxes are how the government typically gains revenue, and reducing them means that we pay less and we save more. Saving more is good. If you need a real-life example of how this was implemented, you can look at the 1964 tax cut. And it was under the Kennedy and Lyndon Brennan, or whatever his B stands for, his name Johnson. So what was this? According to Mozumi at Cambridge in 2018, he wrote that on February 26, 1941, Lyndon B. Johnson signed into law what would become the largest income tax cut in the United States tax history until 1981. And it would increase the income of citizens and businesses in the short run, while raising the level of the overall American economy in the long run. So you may be thinking, yeah, why is this important? Typically, these two were both under the Democratic campaign, and they like to fix problems by increasing the money they give to the poor, whereas the Republicans typically make the poor pay less. So it's really whichever side of it. These guys fall on the side of they like to give money with his Great Society, where he added a lot of really good programs like for widowers. He gave widowers money. He gave the poor money. He gave schools money, which is personally one of my favorites. But for somebody on this side to do that and have it successfully work as good as it did, it was really impressive, I gotta say. Very nice. So you may be wondering, okay, well that's cool. What do I get from this? Like, what can I get from this? So what you get is you get to save more money. Yippee! And you get an easier tax form. This thing in the top right is pretty much like the devil. You want to stay away from that. It is so hard to fill out. It sucks. Most people just pay to have it filled out. And you'll be more happy because, you can buy more things that you like. So once you get that, it will lead to a more stable life as well as increased peace. When you're forced to scrounge off the pennies and do whatever you can to survive, you're more likely to be stressed, honestly. You're just going to be worried about everything, and you're more likely to be violent too. Because, if somebody had to choose whether to punch somebody else in the face to get bread or starve to death, yeah, probably going to get the bread. And if you need an example of this one, you can look at Andrew Mellon's tax cuts during the 1920s. So he had cut taxes from 8% to 2% for the lowest tax brackets, and 73 to 24% for the highest tax brackets. And Like, this was a great thing for everybody. It just meant there was more money circulating in the economy and people had to pay less. And that was all around like a thing that people enjoyed. Tax rates were progressive. That means those who earned over $4,000 or under $4,000 didn't have to pay anything. Those who earned over it paid up to 1%, or paid 1% up to 20,000, 2% for 20 to 50,000, 3%, so on and so forth, until you hit the max, which was 7% at 500,000 and above, which back in that day was a lot of money. So, I mean, it just ended up everybody paid less. And Mellon concluded that high taxes were the chief parasites draining the lifeblood of the American economy. And what it also meant was typically, if you're rich, there's multiple ways to get out of paying taxes, like you can hide under tax shelters. He also deduced that at 25%, they wouldn't try to do that. Like, they'd just straight up pay it all if you kept it that low. And also, he was in the Depression. When he was running as the Secretary of the Treasury, it was during Depression. He did so good that it's called the Forgotten Depression. Like, they're like, it's over, cool, goodbye. So, yeah. Conclusion, today my intention was to persuade Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, that the United States needs to focus on reducing spending. I have discussed the problems with high spending, the solution to reducing spending, and the benefits you will receive from reducing spending. So, my call to action is that you should call the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, at 202-225-2777. There's you guys calling him. That's the United House. Oh, and also I'd like to mention one last thing before I go. So it is also important to know that you can replace tax cuts. You can be like, we should just change the income tax into rada rada. I picked tax cuts specifically because it's, I would say it's pretty like neutral when it comes to politics. Like, if you were to say the income tax, you'd obviously have one side that'd be pretty pissed about that, because that's their bread and butter. So I tried to pick something that was fair to everybody. I don't see why anybody would be mad at having to pay less taxes, I hope. Unless you evade them, then you wouldn't really care. So yes, I'd like to thank you all